And hello, how you doing? Hey, my name is Will Johnson. UnitedAmericaFirst.com is my website. Please do me a favor, share this video. Sorry about that. Had to click a button there. All right, well, while you're joining in, again, hit that share button for me. We're going to talk about some interesting things tonight. And I haven't seen it yet. Maybe someone can tell me if the results came in from Wyoming with Liz Cheney. Come on now. We need to know what's the results with Liz Cheney. We're all like sitting on, at least I am, sitting on the edge of my seat. The last thing I saw that Liz Cheney was down like 30% in the polls. So we can only hope and pray that the people in Wyoming do the right thing and remove Liz Cheney. She no longer needs to be there. No one wants her. Well, the Democrats. And you know, one of the interesting things that I was looking at, and I'm talking to my producer, is that Liz Cheney was asking Democrats to change to Republicans and vote for her. And some Democrats did. Some Democrats actually changed to Republican just so they can vote for her. My producer brought up a valid question, though, and I don't know the rules. Maybe there's something behind it, but she brought up a really valid question. Why don't Liz Cheney just change her party affiliation to a Democrat? I mean, that would solve the problem, right? Then you can get one person to switch to a Democrat instead of asking 900, 1,000, 100,000 people to change to a Republican, right? Why do that? All she had to do is change to a Democrat. But anyways, we're going to start off tonight. So the only reason why I bring that up about Liz Cheney, because I can't see the results right now. I don't know if they brought the results out yet, but if they have, please leave the results in the comments. Let me know. I would really like to know what the people of Wyoming have done. And if you're in Wyoming, you most definitely, I'm pretty sure you're sitting on the edge of your seat. Okay, let's get on talking about these passports. Like, apparently, the FBI took 3 passports from President Trump. And I've said this multiple times, that President Trump, he has his own plane. And every time that I've gone out of country or gone to another state, got on an airplane, period, I had to show identification. President Trump, does he have to go through TSA to get on his airplane? And again, the only reason why I believe that the FBI took his passports in the first place is to put the narrative out there that he might be a flight risk, that, you know, we don't want him to leave the country. That's the only reason why I can see them doing it. And again, if President Trump decided to get on his airplane without his passport and go to another country, how many countries do you think would be saying, well, we don't know who you are? I mean, how many countries do you think would say that? How many countries would be like, you know what, Mr. President, don't even worry about it. We got you. We'll make you another passport here. There's plenty of countries that would do that. The reason why the FBI took the passports in the first place, like I said, is because they wanted to make it look like he might be a flight risk. Because now they have a criminal investigation of something that's not there. It goes right along with what I said before. The Democrats are saying that, and this is just an analogy here, okay? The Democrats are saying that President Trump has committed a murder. So there's a murder crime that's gone on. But they don't have a body. They don't even have a missing persons report, but they're looking for a body. And they're saying that they have to keep looking until they find one because they know somewhere that President Trump has murdered somebody. This is the way they're acting. This is the way they're treating President Trump. Does that analogy make sense? Because that's exactly what they're doing. They keep looking for something on President Trump, saying that they need to keep looking until they find something, as if the man is perfect. No one is perfect, right? But listen to this. This was on Fox News where they're actually talking about the passports. And some of you have probably already seen this, but the Fox News is talking that the FBI acknowledged that they were in the wrong, that they did wrong. They took the passports by mistaken. I mean, seriously, who doesn't know what a passport looked like if you're in the FBI? And if you're in the FBI and you can't tell this is a passport and you take it, then maybe you shouldn't be in the FBI. But listen to this, where they acknowledge that they did wrong.
First time we have confirmation that the FBI and the Justice Department believes it over-collected evidence when it was at Mar-a-Lago, meaning it collected evidence that was not covered by the search warrant. Tonight, I have confirmed from two different sources that the Justice Department called President Trump's defense lawyers today, confirming that they did take his 3 passports. They are making arrangements to send it back, saying they are obligated to return it because it's outside the scope of the subpoena. They have also informed the Trump defense lawyers, the Justice Department has, over the last few days, that there's likely privileged materials that the FBI collected that now has to be segregated and returned to the president. Those privileges could be attorney-client privilege or, more likely, executive privilege. Now,
so my question is, you know, like he's mentioning here, what are these other documents supposedly that they took, right? That had nothing to do with anything. They were there for 9.5 hours. How long does it take to read a 1-page document? Apparently, it took more than 9.5 hours to realize that this is President Trump's passport, which is not on the subpoena. I mean, think about that real quick. Just think about that. They were there 9.5 hours, and you mean to tell me that they didn't go along with the subpoena that they had to go into President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, and then they didn't check certain things off? Or were they just grabbing anything and everything they can? Because them taking the passports is a clear indication that they were just taking anything and everything. And again, they took the passports because they wanted to look like he was a flight risk. I'm telling you.
Now, this is remarkable. I talked to a lot of FBI people today who told me this warrant was already remarkably broad. They basically go in and get anything that looked like a presidential record to then collect something like a passport, which most agents can recognize pretty quickly, or
can they?
Privileged documents, raised concerns among career FBI officials. You're going to see some of them quoted in my story tomorrow about just how this raid was conducted and the sort of lack of precision that was carried out during this raid.
Lack of precision, meaning that they were just doing it 9.5 hours. And you mean to tell me again that they didn't have a clue that they were picking up a passport? Do you know what a passport looked like? I mean, 9.5 hours, they could have went on there and Googled passport. What is this? What is this passport thing that we're picking up and putting in the box? What is this? What else did they do that way? Now you have the Communist News Network even talking about the passport. And listen to what Aaron Burnett says here in the beginning. Listen to what she says about the passport. And then he comes along and explains that, yeah, they did take the passport, but, you know, like they didn't know what they were taking. This is how they're acting. Listen to this.
Trump has been claiming, Evan, that the FBI took 3 passports from him.
He's been claiming. You hear this? She's saying he's claiming. Like I just played the clip where the FBI admitted that they took the passports, and she's saying they're claiming. And this is from tonight. This is from tonight. Before I came on live right now, this is tonight where she's saying that they're claiming where the FBI's already admitted to taking them. And she's trying to put the narrative out there that President Trump is claiming, like President Trump is lying. This is what she's doing. Listen.
Trump has been claiming, Evan, that the FBI took 3 passports from him. And I know that you have reporting to clear this up. So what have you learned?
To clear this up. Now, she's already put the narrative out there like President Trump is lying, like the FBI didn't take his passports, because the FBI knows what passports look like. Listen what he says.
Yeah, look, this is an anatomy of misdirection that you see. You've seen it time and time again. At about 10:49 a.m. On Monday, the Justice Department told Trump's lawyers that the FBI filter team had found that they had these passports and that they wanted.
You see, he's kind of they had these passports. He's kind of hesitant to even say it, and then he's gonna put times out here like any of that even matters. The point is they took the passports in the first place, and President Trump had to say something to get them back.
To return it to the former president's team. At about 1:30, he goes on his social media platform and accuses the FBI of stealing his passports, doesn't mention the fact that they're trying to return it to him. It's not, of course, until about 11 p.m. that the FBI puts out a statement saying, look, in the course of doing the search, the filter team did take these passports. They did arrange for for those things to be returned to the former president. This is
okay. So wait a minute. So you mean to tell me after 9.5 hours in Mar-a-Lago, them confiscating passports, it took them? They didn't know then. Why did it take them later on to talk about the passports? The only reason why they're talking about the passports is because President Trump put it out there. And they're trying to make it look like, hey, we're trying to get the passports back. So why did you take them in the first place? That's the question. If the subpoena says you have a checklist of different items that you need to get, how in the world did the passports get on there in the first place? That's the part that they're leaving out. And they want to act like this is just an honest mistake. It happens all the time.
Routine. This happens a lot. A lot of people were wondering whether the FBI was trying to prevent the former president to travel. That's not at all what this is about.
Really? So you're telling me that they do know what passports are in 9.5 hours and they still took them? What else did they take, everybody?
This happens in these types of searches, but you can see how this took off with the former presidents making this accusation.
You hear this? Making this accusation as if they never took him in the first place. See, that's the problem. And then you have the Communist News Network, of course, coming out here defending these tyrants in the FBI, literally defending them. That's the reason why no one trusts the FBI right now. You have the Communist News Network defending them, and they're trying to act like it's not even happening. Here, I have another one for you. Listen to this, because they just talked about the passport, and they're still trying to drill it in with the passport, trying to act like the passport is not really that big of an issue, and President Trump is making it all up. It's President Trump's reality, and his fake reality is what they're saying. Listen to this. You can't make this stuff up.
And they returned them. Trump was saying they were stolen. Okay, putting that brouhaha aside, you've been talking to your sources. How significant is the passport news? I mean, just even the fact that they took them in the first place when obviously they shouldn't have. Well,
obviously they shouldn't have. And I'm going to say it again. After 9.5 hours, no one knew that they were passports and they were not on a subpoena. Again, I'm going to ask the question, what else did they take that wasn't on a subpoena?
Reality, and then there's the reality that Trump has been trying to create since he was the one who broke the news that the FBI went into his house in the first place.
Right.
And the reality is exactly as Evan reported. They were taken mistakenly.
They were, again, see, this is the Communist News Network defending the FBI for doing a poor job. Excuse my language, a piss poor job. That's exactly what happened here. And she literally said, oh, they took him by mistake. It was a mistake. They didn't mean to take him. They didn't know these were passports. They didn't have even a clue.
There were people there who were called filter teams who probably should have figured out that these passports were in one of the boxes that they were supposed to take.
Yeah.
They didn't then, but they did as soon as they got it back to the field office. They sent it back right away. But what it did was give the former president an opening when he makes the charge that, oh, look what the FBI did. This is an opening that he looks for any opening that he possibly can, and he exploited it. And it, is unfortunate when it comes to the narrative, but not so much when it comes to the real legal case.
So the real substance of all of it.
The real substance of all of it. You know what? The real substance of all of it is that they raided President Trump's home. And they tried to act like he had documents that they didn't know about. This was the second time they were at his home, people. For you trolls out there, this is the second time. You mean to tell me, did the FBI do the job properly the first time? Are you suggesting they did the job properly the second time because they raided his home when he wasn't there? See, you're happy about that. But I guarantee if President Trump was in office and they raided Barack Hussein Obama's home, y'all would be saying, oh, my goodness, he's a dictator. Look what he's doing. They would be exploding right now. There would probably be riots in the street over it. But see, President Trump, he kept everything civil. The conservatives, the Republicans, Christians in this nation, they kept everything civil. Everything has remained civil. Now, this was just in. My producer just told me. We have great news here. Phenomenal news. Liz Cheney loses her primary in Wyoming. Whoop, 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 whoop. Another one down. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. Liz Cheney's gone. Yes. Yes and yes. I'm pretty sure she said she was going to do a speech afterwards and talk about President Trump. She was going to bring up the attention about President Trump and everything that President Trump has been doing. She said she was going to bring it up. Win or lose, she was going to bring it up. Brings me to my next point. Liz Cheney and the other Democrats are wanting to take arms against President Trump. Now, they call it conspiracy theories when people talk about how the left wants to be violent against President Trump, but when there's ever an attempt on them, they're upset because it didn't follow through, because it didn't happen. They're actually calling to take arms up against President Trump. You don't believe me? They're actually calling for it. They want, and maybe that's part of this IRS agents militarizing them to go after people like President Trump, arming them. You don't believe me? Listen to what they say here. Y'all remember this dude here, Chris Wallace. He used to be on Fox News. He's a total rhino. I don't know. You know what? He's not even a rhino. To my understanding, he's a registered Democrat. And he used to be on Fox News. Y'all remember how he did President Trump during the 2020? Y'all remember, right? Well, now he's here on Communist News Network, CNN. And listen, he actually says what the Democrats are wanting to do. They're wanting to take up arms against President Trump. Listen to this.
It was his best state. That's where he got his biggest majority of all. I just don't see a situation under which, I mean, miracles do happen, but it would.
And he's talking about the miracle of Liz Cheney winning, right? Miracles can happen. Well, she didn't get the miracle. But listen, what he's expecting Liz Cheney and other Democrats to do.
Literally be a political miracle for her to win. So the question becomes, how is she going to cast her defeat? Listen, which we think. And what'll be interesting to hear, it's clearly going to be a call to arms against Donald Trump, but what is she going to say about her role in that army trying to oppose Donald Trump in 2023 and 4?
Come on now. Just y'all need to bear with me just for 1 second here. If that was somebody on the Communist News, on the Fox News, or on Breitbart, on Lindell TV, or OAN, saying the same thing, call to arms. Oh my goodness, they're literally saying when a person say call to arms against another person, like another president, like President Trump, what do you think that means? He just said it. He just said it. And they're asking, what is Liz Cheney's role going to be in the call to arms against President Trump? Now, maybe he was just, figuratively speaking. Maybe that's what the case was. But if it was any other conservative media outlet that would even whimper the idea of taking arms against these Democrats, they would be calling the FBI. The FBI would be visiting them. The FBI is not going to visit Chris Wallace for even talking about that. Listen to this one more time. He actually says it, that they're going to call Liz Cheney and the Democrats going to call to arms. But what is Liz Cheney's role going to be in it? You can't make it up. Listen.
Clearly going to be a call to arms against Donald Trump. But what is she going to say about her role in that army?
In that army. What? So here on national television, they're actually asking people, they're calling people call to arms against President Trump. That's exactly what they're doing here. They're letting everybody know that there's going to be a time coming that where they're going to call arms against President Trump. He said it, not me. They're relaying it out there. He let the cat out the bag. And look how they're reacting to it. It's like, yes, they want people. You remember the summer of love 2020 and how Antifa and BLM and they were just going out there destroying stuff all throughout cities, all throughout the nation. Remember, they were in support of it because it was tearing down the nation. They're always in support of it.
Trying to oppose Donald Trump in 2023 and 4. How much is she going to lean into the possibility of running herself? I think that's the big question is how does she cast the effort against Trump, and how does she cast her role in it?
So, Nia, Liz Cheney has never blanched at calling.
Again, if this was Republicans even getting the idea or even putting the idea of calling to arms against somebody, the FBI would be all over them. But here it's going to be the total opposite. Why is that? Because the Democrats know very well that they protect the other demons. So they can go in there and say what they want. They can call for anything and everything. But Liz Cheney's done. Liz Cheney is done. My producer just sent me the message, so y'all can go out there and look it up. Verify it too. That she is done. We already knew that she was pretty much done. This is another never Trumper, another anti-American, another demonic rhino democrat. She's straight up a Democrat. There's no question about it. She's straight up a Democrat. She hated President Trump. She hates America. And she looked like she's about to bawl her eyes out, right? Because of all of the stuff that she's been doing. She knows that she's on the wrong side of all of this. And she doesn't care. She truly doesn't care. She believes that because she's a part of the establishment and her daddy got her back, that she can do whatever it is that she want to do, and the American people will just go right along with it because the establishment Republicans have been working hand in hand with these establishment Democrats to tear down the country, because it's all leading right to this liberal world order, and her and Adam Kissinger and the rest of these rhinos are all about it. Listen to what she says here.
Millions of people around the country have been betrayed and misled and deceived by Donald Trump.
Really? We've all been deceived by President Donald Trump. You hear this? Really? So I guess trusting our police department. So I guess believing in saying America first. So I guess more people, Black and Hispanic people, working than ever before in this nation. I guess low gas prices, I guess low food prices, all of that is a great deception, right? He did all of that just to make us happy, just to say, you know what, I'm just going to do this to make you happy because I'm going to trick you in thinking that you're doing better, because you're actually not doing better until Biden comes here and destroys everything, right? That's the deception.
President Trump summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. We are confronting a domestic threat that we have never faced before. We have to choose, because Republicans cannot both be loyal to Donald Trump and loyal to the Constitution.
You hear this? President Trump was being loyal to the Constitution, and that's what we need. This current, the Biden regime, they're not loyal to the Constitution. They've been undermining the Constitution from day one. If they weren't undermining the Constitution, they wouldn't be trying to do away with the Electoral College. If they weren't undermining the U.S. Constitution, they wouldn't be trying to stack the courts. If they were not undermining the U.S. Constitution, they would not be upset when the Supreme Court put the power back to the people when it came to taking a life. You understand what I'm telling you? That's the way it's supposed to be. The state's supposed to make the decision. You, in your state, you're supposed to make the decision on if you want to take the life of an innocent unborn child in your state, not these Democrats on the Hill. And that's what they're upset. They've been violating the U.S. Constitution ever since they began. And they have the nerve, the audacity to sit there and say that we have to choose between President Trump and the U.S. Constitution. Well, President Trump he was pushing the U.S. Constitution, and they hated it.
I mean, yeah, she's very black and white about it. You cannot be both those things at once. I mean, and tonight.
You know what? It makes me think about it. Like, you can't be a Democrat and a Christian. You can't do it. Now that you can't do. It doesn't happen. And anyone out there that's a Democrat right now, aka Democrat, and you call yourself a Christian, how does that work? How does that work? Because the Democrats go against everything that is good, everything that is of God. How does that work?
That is the choice, right? It is Trump or Cheney.
And listen, she must have known what this would mean for her political future, to stand up against Donald Trump, to never waver, to call him to account, and really be the face of. committee in so many ways. She's used that committee to try to reach out to Republicans and essentially say, listen, you've been used and abused by Donald Trump. He's been abusing your patriotism. We'll see how many end up listening to her tonight and beyond tonight, what kind of future she has. Does she have people who are going to come behind her at a sort of more national level? I think that's the question that you talk about. So far, Donald Trump has won, this battle.
You hear this? So far, Donald Trump has won. Right? And you know what it is? Because people are fed up. And what's really amazing to me is how they can't figure it out. They can't figure it out. They just have it in their minds that all of us are just supposed to go along with the stupidity that they're pushing onto us. That's the most amazing thing here, is that they truly believe that we're just dumb enough to continue to believe what they're pushing onto us. Oh, Donald Trump, he's the problem. Really? Explain to me how President Trump was the problem. Have you not been to the gas pump? Have you not brought groceries? Have you not paid your electric bill? Explain to me how President Trump was the problem. We see the problem, and that's what they don't see. They don't understand that we see them now. And see, after President Trump, more and more people woke up. And after this raid on Mar-a-Lago, even more people woke up.
To run these people out of the party who have gone against him. And we'll see if she is able to really kind of gather some strength around the sort of anti-Trumpism wing of the Republican Party, which is still only about maybe 30%.
30%. You hear this? It's less than that. There are some never Trumpers, rhinos in here, but it's less than 30% because all of them are jumping on, maybe she's talking about Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. Maybe she's talking about them, and every now and then McCarthy, he'll flip flop just, depending on which way the wave is going.
There is money though. It's
not in Wyoming. It's not in her home state.
Right.
It's sort of national.
But if she were to mount a national campaign, there are a lot of anti-Trump people around the country who would support that.
Oh, they would love that.
The question is the market share inside the Republican nominating electorate for this message.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Liz Cheney would think that there's a clearer path to the Republican presidential nomination in 2024 with the Republican primary electorate than there is to winning renomination here in this Wyoming Republican electorate.
You know what? And that's one thing I was thinking about earlier. Like, she's going to lose. She lost in Wyoming, but now she's going to run for the president of the United States of America. How does that work? No one will support her. Maybe she'll go ahead and change her party affiliation to a Democrat and run as a Democrat because the Democrats love her. They love her. Some Democrats changed their party affiliation to support her tonight, and it still didn't help out. It still didn't work.
But I get how conservative Wyoming is. It just seems to me as a near impossible task. So to your question, Chris, so what is it? What role does she want to play if it's not seriously challenging him for the nomination? It is I think she's been quite clear about it all along, to do everything in her power to keep him from returning to the Oval Office.
See, that's what it is. That was her main agenda. She wanted to do everything she could do to try to prevent President Trump from running again in 2024. Liz Cheney is extremely butthurt over President Trump. Extremely butthurt. But we get to say tonight, you're watching me right now, we get to say tonight, bye-bye Liz Cheney. Bye-bye. When I get done with here, I'm going to go to her Twitter page and say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That means being a spoiler, if that means helping to channel that money into some super PAC that is aimed at taking him down.
Well, because when she loses the platform of the committee, that is going to be a loss.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big platform for her.
She'll likely, I imagine, she'll probably get a big book deal. Maybe she'll be on a cable news channel speaking about issues that the country faces. But listen, she has been a fascinating political figure, one of the most fascinating over the last 10 or 20 years. Certainly.
Really? So, yeah, of course, she's probably going to end up on either MSDNC or the Communist News Network, and either one of them will embrace her because she wanted to take down President Trump. She wanted to prevent President Trump from becoming president again in 2024. She did everything she could do. She exhausted everything she knew to do. Didn't work. because the American people aren't stupid. You're not stupid. You're not. I mean, you are not. And the left, again, they can't grasp the concept of why you are not falling for their lies. They don't understand it. They're like, what is going on here? You know why? Because they're so accustomed to lying to the American people for all of these years before President Trump. And people were just like, well, you know what? These are the people that's telling us the news. They have to be credible, right? We all had that impression. Or maybe because I was younger, I didn't know any better. I'm looking at them. They wouldn't blatantly lie to us like this, would they? And then here comes President Trump. And President Trump opens up the can of worms, and everyone can see inside the can. And these worms, these nasty, slimy worms that's in this can, that's happened to be in the center of the swamp, we all see it. And now, because they're exposed, they don't like it. But yet they still keep swimming around thinking we don't see them anymore. Now, there's been plenty of people that have recognized the media has been lying and talking about that way before President Trump. But it's never been to this extent, not to the point to where they are trying to do everything they can to fight a candidate. These are the mainstream media outlets putting all of their effort into fighting a candidate when all they should be doing is reporting the news. They have become talk shows. That's all it has become, talk shows. Here's one from MSDNC. And of course, they bring Adam Kissinger on here. And I told y'all before, you notice, and let me before I go to this, listen to this. I've gone to different events and different rallies and stuff like that. One event I went to was in Minnesota, and they was having this Dragon Queen episode, and parents were bringing their children there to put money in the Dragon Queens, and the Dragon Queens was dancing in front of them and stuff like that. Well, there was street preachers on the other side of the street. Well, I go on the side with the Dragon Queens with my camera, and the video's out there. And I'm sitting there, and all I do is I just talk to my camera. But see, the demons, they'll listen to what I am saying to you, right? For those of you that were watching, those of you know what I'm talking about. And I'm just talking to you, and I'm mentioning about how they want to target children, right? And I'm talking about all that, and they get upset. And I just start praying, and they get upset, and they're angry. And now across the street, like I told you, there were street preachers. Not a single one of them have a Trump sign. Not a single one. I didn't even have on any Trump paraphernalia. I didn't have on nothing. I just had on, from what I remember, I just had on a plain shirt. But I didn't have anything, nothing that said Trump. Nobody had anything that said Trump. But you know what they started doing? You know what the demons started to do? The demons started associating us with President Trump. We didn't even bring up Trump, didn't mention President Trump. Which brings me to this video here. Adam Kissinger, you know, he didn't run because he didn't want to go through what Liz Cheney just went through. The total embarrassment. He said, I'm just going to drop out because I don't want to be embarrassed like Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney is completely and totally embarrassed. You know she is. But listen, just like I told you, all of them associate Trump with Christ. They do it all the time. You remember the Hollywood sex tape when President Trump said he'll grab it? The only reason why they put that all out in the media is because they wanted you, the Christian, not to support a billionaire playboy. Y'all remember that? Now, no one excused that behavior. No one was excusing it. But we all understood that we were not voting for a person to go in and do that. And he's already explained it. This was years ago. And everyone knew that being a billionaire playboy, that the women would do that. It was no secret. Some people love that lifestyle. Some people like, I don't want to have anything to do with the lifestyle. But we didn't elect President Trump for his lifestyle. We elected him for his brilliance. Just to be straight up. And the brilliance is, that's what it is. Now listen to this, how they try to associate again, because even members in Adam Kissinger's family sent him letters calling him out for the demonic stuff that he was doing, joining the Democrats and trying to tear down the country and President Trump. Listen to this.
Aspect of it, but then there are people who legitimately believe that you leaving the party, as it were, to hold Trump accountable is a moral abomination. And some of those people are in your own family. You shared, I believe, a letter right after you called for Trump to be removed from office under the 25th Amendment. 11 members of your family sent you this letter. I'll just quote some choice lines. Adam, oh my, what a disappointment you are to us and to God. We were once so proud of your accomplishments. Instead, you go against your Christian principles and join the devil's army, the Democrats and the fake news media. Adam, they are not going to like this appearance this evening on M.
You know what? He has good family members. He has good family members. And you listen to her. She doesn't even deny that the Democrat Party is the party of Satan. She doesn't even deny it. Listen, because she's going to go on and talk about it. None of them deny it. They have embraced Satan as their God. I'm telling you straight up. Listen to this.
MSNBC. But, I mean, what happened with Kevin McCarthy, right? I mean, that's a fairly ABC, I can be maybe the next Speaker of the House. I'm Kevin McCarthy. I'm going to stay in power. But what about members of your own family? And I ask that not just to get you to, be critical of members of your own family, but because I think they're representative of a lot of Republicans in the country who don't hold elected office and are in thrall to Donald Trump and are voting against Liz Cheney, who otherwise is everything you could want from a conservative Republican.
A conservative Republican. Now listen to what Adam Kissinger says here. And I know you can't stand him. I can't stand him either. But you need to listen to the way he thinks, because this is how you learn. If we don't pay attention to these demonic demons, we won't know. Do you understand that? Can y'all read my shirt? If you do not pay attention, you will not know, and you will be easily deceived by these people. Now, again, remember what I told y'all, how they associate with Christ with Trump. I mean, it's really bizarre how they do this. Listen, and they try to say that we're the ones doing it, but they're the ones constantly doing it. Listen.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to talk about. So first off, I've come to believe over the last year that people, more than even fearing death, we're such a tribalistic people that they fear being kicked out of their tribe. And so you accept anything because now republicanism or conservatism or Trumpism becomes your identity. And so you're going to stay. Now, my family, look, they're my dad's cousins.
So his dad's cousins, right? His mom cousins must be total demonic democrats, because he had to make sure it's my dad cousins. Listen.
I'm going to say this as a Christian myself.
As a Christian himself, you see, you can't be a Christian and support the Democrat Party. You can't do it.
Many pastors in this country are failing their congregation, not even just by, pushing kind of Trumpism from the pulpit.
Listen. And you know what? It's not even pushing Trumpism from the pulpit. It's about what it really comes down to is protecting children, protecting our borders, protecting our livelihoods. That's what it really comes down to. Pastors should be speaking up against this transgenderism crap that they're trying to push onto our society. And people out there getting upset, talking about, oh my goodness, you're not loving, you don't want to do this to the children. They're demonic. Now, hear the catcher. Listen to what he says. I told you, they do this all the time. They are the ones associating Trump with Christ. They do it all the time. Listen.
But even refusing to talk about how bad it is, how corrosive it is. And you have people today that literally, I think in their heart, they may not say it, but they equate Donald Trump with the person of Jesus Christ. And
you hear it? See, he said they may not even say it, meaning we don't. Right? But they think it. The demonic left, they think it. Listen, I'm gonna have to go right back. I'm gonna have to do it one more time here, because y'all need to hear it. They think it. You see, they may not even say it, but they perceive it. They make the connection. Just like I said, when I was in Minnesota, Minneapolis, they made the connection. No one had on any Trump paraphernalia. We're talking about God. They were talking about Jesus. We were praying in the name of Jesus. Didn't even mention Trump, but they came back and they're talking about F. Donald Trump. They were doing that. They were playing they were right by playing the song, F. Donald Trump. Why? Because they associate President Trump with things that are considered good. They're doing it over and over. I don't know how many times I can explain it or even point it out, but they're the ones that's doing it. And you know why they're doing it? Because they're demonic. They have given themselves over to a reprobate mind. They worship Satan. They actually do. Because you can't tell me that they don't worship Satan. They don't some of them even say it. Some of them even say it. When they talk about killing the unborn child, that's exactly what they're doing. When they're talking about sexualizing kids, that's exactly what they're doing. That is not of God.
Say it, but they equate Donald Trump with the person of Jesus Christ. And to them, if you even come out against this amazing man, Donald Trump, which, I mean, obviously quite flawed, you are coming out against Jesus, against their Christian values. And when you go after their religion, that violates the depth of who they are. And I've been kicked out of my tribe, and that's okay.
Do y'all see the point there? Do y'all see this? And see, he says that he's a Christian. He's lying. So does Joe Biden. Or actually, Joe Biden says he's Catholic, right? But they do the opposite of what Catholics are supposed to do, right? I don't know. Maybe you can correct. Maybe all Catholics now support abortion. Maybe that changed. I don't know. Same thing with Nancy Pelosi. She supports abortion as well. And they're talking about, well, it's women's rights. Forget about the unborn child's rights. They say that the child is a parasite. They don't even believe it's an actual child. This is the world we live in. These people are 100% demonic through and through. I have something else I want to share with you. Have y'all ever heard of the deep state? I mean, have you heard of the deep state? Right? You have the left right now trying to say that the deep state doesn't exist. Well, you know what the deep state is? The deep state are those that actually got the FBI to go raid President Trump's home. That's what that is considered the deep state. The deep state is the one that did the whole fake Russian dossier against President Trump, knowing it was fraudulent. That is considered from the deep state. The deep state putting President Trump through 2 impeachments instead of working to benefit or to have the American people benefit from the policies that President Trump was doing. They wanted to spend and waste taxpayer dollars to impeach President Trump twice in the House and have it go through the Senate, wasting time, precious time that things could be done. But see, they did that trying to hold up anything that President Trump was trying to achieve because they saw that he was doing great things, not just for America, but around the world, and they can't stand it. The deep state is real, and all of these people have connections to the deep state one way or another, even though they are denying it even exists.
Army of Washington insiders called the deep state that is doing everything they can to stop Trump from running again.
It's not a secret.
Steve Bannon, Trump's former chief strategist, he runs with this expanding false conspiracy daily on his podcast. It grows and grows with every news event. So when FBI agents served a search warrant on Trump's, resort, the rhetoric explodes, accusing the Department of Justice and FBI agents acting like, what else? Nazis.
Nazis, right? And I was going to play the clip where they were talking about with Steve Bannon talking about it, but every single time I play something with Steve Bannon here on the socialist media platforms, they ding me. Every single time. It's almost like I'm playing something with Alex Jones, and they'll ding me. Oh my goodness, how dare you play that person? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But listen to this. This, again, we're talking about the deep state. They don't want to acknowledge it exists, and we've all heard about it for years now. Just like they used to say that this one world order was a whole conspiracy, now they are embracing the liberal world order that we've been talking about. Now it's no longer a conspiracy, but it's now an agenda that they want to have happen. Listen.
So incredibly dangerous, Drew. I mean, and look, we know it's extreme, and as you point out, Bannon's listeners may believe all of it, right? They may believe it. But I guess when I use the word dangerous, that is the question. How far does this go in terms of its impact?
And
you know what? They're talking about what Steve Bannon is saying is dangerous, but they never want to acknowledge or take responsibility for the danger rhetoric that they put out on the airwaves every single day. They never want to take responsibility. They constantly lie. They get caught in the lies, and then they try to act like, well, that lie was just a mistake, and they never go back and redact it. They never go back and say, we apologize that we lied to you, the American people. They never do it.
And that's why, unfortunately, we report on Steve Bannon specifically, because he's a big part of this modern-day Trump-era Republican Party. David Chalian, our David Chalian, calls him the intellectual and cultural navigator for the party, setting the agenda even more than Donald Trump. It's why we have so many of these fringe Congress people. They show up on Bannon's show.
Right, and it's amazing, as you point out. Remember back in the day when people talked about him as a puppeteer, right? And that infamously angered Trump. But that agenda that you're talking about is long term.
Yeah, extremely long term. Right now, focused on the midterms. But the big agenda here for this version of the Republican Party, they want to take over in all of it, from school boards to congressional seats, then take over Congress this fall, Trump back in the White House in 2024, and Aaron, to take over the government, which they mean to get rid of the bureaucrats.
Now listen to this. Listen to this. Because when President Trump was in office, they wanted to, they've done it. They wanted to remove every single thing that President Trump done. They want to take over the government. They want to make the government tyrannical. And that's exactly what they've done. And now they don't want you, the American people, to take the country back, right? Because remember when President Trump, during inauguration in 2017, inauguration, President Trump said, I'm giving the country back to you. You remember that? Do y'all remember that? Now listen to what they say here about what Republicans are wanting to do.
To take over the government, which they mean to get rid of the bureaucrats, the deep state, get rid of the FBI, the Department.
Is there something wrong with that?
Department of Justice, all of it, transform the United States. This is what they talk about. This is the MAGA version.
You know what? Someone please explain to me how putting America back on top is bad. You just heard them say it. See, they said like it's a bad thing, like having low gas prices again, having our oil companies, produce again, becoming the #1 exporter of natural gas, securing our borders, stopping all of the crime. Like that is a bad thing. Having the FBI finally work for the people and not being a strong arm of the Democrat Party. What is wrong with that? Someone please explain it to me. Maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe we're in a day and age where we need to follow down the same path that the Nazis did, the actual Nazis did in Nazi Germany, because that's the path the Democrats are wanting to go on right now. What do you think the 87,000 armed IRS agents are going to be for? What do you think they're going to be for? I mean, if you have a small business trying to operate, all they want to do is operate, but they're going to send armed guards to the small business because, hey, we've created a new tax. And you know what? This hadn't come out. This is just my opinion on something what they can do because it's been completely corrupt. They can create a new tax 2 weeks from now and say that you owe back taxes on it from the last 2 years, 20 years, because they just created. What's to stop them from doing it? They're completely corrupt. Completely corrupt. All right. Well, you know what? I wasn't even expecting to go this long tonight, but man, it's just really interesting times that we live in. Really interesting. Y'all need to get ready for more to come. And people, I've had some people send me messages, well, Will, what do we do? And I've said it before. Y'all need to get on the phone, call the people in your local city and state and find out how you can help. And I've mentioned this so many times. If all of us just did a little, right? I think I'm doing my part. Maybe you don't think I'm doing my part, but all I'm saying is we all can just do a little. And if we all do a little, the 150 million of us just do a little, that little will add up to a lot. You know how like a snowball going down the hill, it starts out small and it gets bigger and bigger. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't take much. So you need to make phone calls. You need to find out how you can help just a little bit. Sharing this video is another way you can help. I constantly ask, help me, share the video. We can do this, people. Tonight is another example that we can do this because the American people are waking up. We want our country back. We want them to stop sexualizing our children. We want them to secure our borders. We want them to stop with all the corruption. If the deep state wasn't real, then the FBI would have never raided President Trump's home over political differences. That's all it's all about. There's no nuclear codes. Really? If there was nuclear codes and they knew about them a year and a half ago, why did they wait until now? Why did they do the subpoena and then wait over the weekend? Well, we can't do it right now. I'm going out with the kids. The codes ain't going anywhere, right? They know where they are. Come on. All right. Hey, I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing this video. Thank you so much. Hey, if you haven't already, please go to my website, sign up for the newsletter, and also subscribe to my podcast. Subscribe to my podcast. My nightly podcasts go out every single day. Please subscribe to my podcast. I'm asking you. I'm begging you. Please subscribe to my podcast. All right, everybody. Thank you again. God bless. We will see you on the flip side. I thought we would have had some out here, but I guess not. God bless everybody. Be safe.